Myself and Arnab sir will be handling this manufacturing process laboratory, both theory as well as practical part of it. So right now, for initial few weeks, the theory part will be completed. Then we will enter into the practical part. Okay. So in theory part, we'll be discussing about the various manufacturing methods and processes which are in general used in the industry. Okay, various types of manufacturing processes which are applied for development of various type of products and components. Okay. So here introduction to manufacturing processes. What are the different types of manufacturing processes? Types, categories that we will understand here. Okay. So products and manufacturing, the product creation cycle. So basically, any manufacturing unit is established for production of a final product or a finished product. The total process involved is called as production creation cycle or product creation cycle, which you can see here on this particular slide. Products and manufacturing. So the cycle starts with design, material selection, process selection, manufacturing, then the implementation of the actual process. Then after the manufacturing, you have inspection. Then you have feedback. So after the inspection, if the component is okay or the product is okay, fine. Otherwise, it will be again brought back to the initial position and again remanufacturing or reproduction may be done if possible, or else it will be rejected here. That's why there is a feedback here after inspection. If it is okay, it will go through. Otherwise, it will go back to the design, and it will be checked for its design fault or any other production fault. And if possible, it will be admitted. Sorry, it will be what you call the remachined, remanufactured. Again, it will be inspected and accepted. Otherwise, it will be rejected. Thing is, it should be in. Yeah. So thing is, it should not be in a total what call disposable position. No error is there, it can be kept aside. Then again, it can be remanufactured or remachining can be done here. Okay. Still, people are joining. So the request all of you is please join by 12:25. 12:20 to 12:25, all of you join. So that I can accept all of you at a time. Okay. So otherwise, I have to stop, admit you, and I can come back and I will skip something. All these things they come. Okay, there's a break in the class. Okay. Typical product cost breakdown. First, we'll just have an understanding about any product and how it will be costed. Like say a mobile phone, how it is costed, etc. Okay. So throughout this production cycle, whatever costs are involved, that will be levied on the product, on the customer, taking into consideration the profit margin also. So without profit, no production process or manufacturing process will survive. Okay. So if you say a particular mobile is there, its cost is something around say 10,000. How the 10,000 is decided? So that includes, so just see this pie chart. So the engineering cost is around 15%, which includes designing, modeling, etc., adapting, etc. Then you have the what you call manufacturing cost, the actual processes to be implemented on the component, whether machining is to be done or welding is to be done, assembling is to be done, whatever process you are applying on the particular product, that itself is the major holder here. So it costs you around 40%. Say car manufacturing industry is there. For example, a car is there, its cost is decided as 10 lakhs. So in the 10 lakhs, 50% cost is mainly for the engineering. Engineers, engineering, designing, modeling, etc. Okay, drafting, modeling, etc. So basic model and basic design is created there. Drafting work will be there and design work will be there. Okay. Then when it is actually, I mean, the product manufacture is started. So from starting to ending, that comes under the manufacturing. It will be costing around 40%. Then only what we call this only production and manufacturing engineering is not sufficient. You need to have administration department, sales department, marketing department, like that. It will cost you around 25%. And like in our college also, we have admin department. We have what we call this placement department. And luckily, we may not be having sales and marketing department, but costing or accounting department, etc. All departments will be there. Not only the what you call the engineering branches, but also these branches are also included, administration and other accounting, etc. So all those costs also will be introduced, will be considered in deciding the cost of education per student or the fee levied by the college. Okay, so our engineering college also is an example in deciding the fee structure. Okay, then also we have a profit margin. Definitely, profit margin is required in any industry, any manufacturing or any production industry. So say it is decided as something like 20%. So this profit margin is variable. It will not be constant for all types of industries. Okay, it may be 10% and sometimes it may be 30% or sometimes it may be 20%. But it depends on the demand in the market. Remember, it depends on the demand in the market and certain external factors also. Like the government has some laws imposed not to cross the profit limit by 30% or 40%. If such rule is there, that also controls this particular profit margin. Okay. If demand is there, then naturally the profit may be increased. Okay. So that's about the costing here. Entering into the manufacturing process, a sequence of operations, processes designed to create a specific product. The process of turning materials into a product. So basically, the input to any manufacturing process is a raw material. This raw material has to be subjected to a sequence of operations, or maybe subjected to a sequence of production processes, and finally, it has to be converted into a particular specific product. Okay, so that's what happens inside any manufacturing process. Okay, so like here you can see in the pictures, you have a car manufacturing unit, then you have a drug manufacture unit, then you have a food industry. So like in food industry, what will take, maybe the flour is to be taken, it's a raw material, it has to be mixed with ingredients, then it may have to be baked, it may have to be shaped, it may have to be subjected to oven or frying, something like that. So all these are processes. So raw material is the floor here now. Similarly, in the car manufacture, the raw material is nothing but the metal, whatever metal you are using. It could be mild steel, it could be aluminium, or multiple metals also can be used, sheet metal, etc. So those are raw materials. So those raw materials, straight away you cannot convert them into cars. So they may be subjected to various types of operations, forming operations, machining operations, etc. Then they may be subjected to assembling process. So once assembling is done, means you will get a car here now. So once you get a car, it will be subject. Will it be direct introduced to market? No, it will be subjected to many types of tests and inspection processes. So until it clears the basic inspection processes, it will not be entered into the market or released into the market. So that is the process takes place at any industry. Okay. Engineers in manufacturing. So this comes under the engineering cost. So who are required in manufacturing? So basically, a manufacturing engineer is required. What you do is you select and coordinate specific processes and equipment. So you will have a control and you will have a coordination with various types of processes involved here. So what are the processes involved, etc. You will be deciding, and you will be coordinating with the various production centers here. Okay, this is like a center level coordinator. Then you have an industrial engineer is responsible for manufacturing system design. So he will be designing the layout or he will be designing the line of production. So in what sequence all the production centers have to be run here, or in what sequence the raw material has to pass through various production centers or various production processes. That is after which process will come into picture. So all these things will be decided by an industrial engineer. Just a minute, I forgot to record the section, very important. So I'm just starting the record section. Start recording. Okay. Yeah, coming back. So you require a manufacturing engineer. You require an industrial engineer. Then you require a materials engineer also. Now the role of a materials engineer here is to develop and select materials based on desired material properties and manufacturing processes. So what he will do is he will select materials. So whatever materials or raw materials which are available, he will select appropriate materials from those type of different raw materials which are required for manufacturing a component. Okay, so that is the role. So that's a very important role for a materials engineer here. Okay, so he will develop, select materials based on design material properties and manufacturing process. Sometimes in development of the materials also will be done in the same industry. It is feasible. Okay, in development is also done, not always, but sometimes. Otherwise, the raw material will be procured from outside. So as per the economics, it will be decided whether to develop it in-house or to buy it from outside. So it is something like principal of our college, like manufacturing engineer means principal of our college, industrial engineer, maybe a HOD or HODs of different branches, material engineers, maybe faculty, etc. Okay, just a comparison. Now, manufacturing system designs. So, what are the manufacturing system designs? So, here we have a job shop, small quantities of products or large variety products. Products move through the shop to various machines, general purpose machines. So, a job shop is a small manufacturing unit, you can say, or small production center where small quantities of products are manufactured, maybe large varieties, but small quantities of products are manufactured, and they'll be passing to this what you call the job shop and get converted into a final product. Okay. So now our, for example, our workshop, we have a laboratory called junior workshop. So you can call it as a job shop also. There you have 7 types of trades. Okay, 7 varieties or 7 different type of trades where small quantities of products, though for the purpose of study, are created or manufactured. Okay, so that is a job shop. So remember, job shop is the smallest production center. Like you cannot erect a BHL or you cannot erect a BEL for manufacture of small components. So for small components, you have small job shop. Then you have a little bit bigger one, that is flow shop. So larger quantities of products, production line and special purpose machines are available in the flow shop. So maybe in the job shop, small machinery are there, maybe hand tools are used, but whereas in a flow shop, because the component, the raw material will be flowing here from one production point to other production point. So at every production center, a particular manufacturing process or production process is done on that particular component. As such, in flow system, you can go for large scale production here now. Okay, and the production line will be there along which the process will flow, and along this production line, I mean this line will pass through various production centers, and at various production centers you have special purpose machines installed to perform a manufacturing process on a particular component or material which is brought to it. So from raw material to the finished product, everything will be going through this production line and special manufacturing machines here now. As such, it is called as a flow shop, because the material will be flowing here through various production centers. Okay. Flow shop. Okay. Next is cell shops. Linked cell shop. So here the term linked is used. Now the various components coming from various assemblies or various production centers will be brought together here. Okay. So manufacturing and sub-assembly cells connected to final assembly, lean production system, one-piece flow system. So here all the components are linked together. Okay, whatever the components which are manufactured from different flow lines or different manufacturing centers. So you may have different flow lines or different production lines or process centers for different type of components. So all of them finally have to be brought together, like tires, sheet metal, seats, engine of a car. We are talking about a car, the braking system, transmission system. So all are finished at different centers and they'll be brought together in a single shop. What is linked cell shop here? So they are called as sub-assemblies, which need to be assembled into a single component. Now here, I mean, the final assembly will be done. Okay. Then you have other one called as project shop. Okay. So project shops are erected or established at the product manufacturing point itself. Okay, wherever you want to manufacture a product, there itself the project shop is established because the size of the components or the products which are being manufactured is very huge. Suppose you cannot bring it at one particular point, manufacture it, and again transport it to the actual what you call the source, I mean destination. So from source to destination, transport of huge machine, like here in picture you can see shipbuilding yard is there. a big ship is being manufactured. So shipbuilding yards are at the yard, what you call this, seashores itself, they are erected. Why? Because you have to manufacture a ship, and from that shipbuilding yard, the ship can be manufactured and directly transported to the seashores. Okay, for transport purpose. So a project shop. So product being manufactured cannot be easily moved during the production. Very huge components, very huge one. Okay, which cannot be moved that easily. So production processes are brought to the product. So instead of bringing a raw material to a production center, in this kind of large scale and huge component manufacture or product manufacture, the production shop or product shop itself will be brought to the production center or to the product. Okay. So examples are what? Bridges, you have ships, large aeroplanes, locomotives, large machinery. So they are not manufactured somewhere, but they will be manufactured at the source itself or the destination itself. Okay, because you cannot handle them that easily. Like you can handle a car or mobile phone, etc. Okay, so transportation will be difficult for huge components or huge products. So naturally, the shipbuilding yards will be nearer to the seashores. Okay. Again, somebody joining. Okay. Okay. Continuous process. So large plants utilized in manufacture of liquids, oils, gases, and powders. So these are the largest units. Okay, compared to a job role, these are largest units and continuous processes because these liquids, oils, gases, powders, and fuels, etc., which are required on regular basis and continuously required, like petrol, diesel, refineries we have. So the products are, which are required continuously and that too in large scale are generally manufactured in a continuous process type of a system or continuous type of a manufacturing system. Okay. So you can just see in the picture some of the units which will be manufacturing the fuels, like distillation plants for manufacture of different type of fuels from petroleum. And you have something called as lean manufacturing. 100% good units, 100% good units flow from process to process. Integrated quality control. All employees are inspectors. So in lean manufacturing, the product quality is of utmost importance. So some of the components are very expensive in nature, like aircraft components. So you cannot subject them simply through any large scale manufacturing system, and again after manufacturing is done, it will be subject to inspection, and after inspection again accepting rejecting is not economical in those kind of systems. So we go for lean manufacturing. So lean manufacturing, 100% good units flow from process to process. Good units, that is at each and every process there will be an inspection process. That is at each and every, what you call the sub manufacturing assembly, or you can call it as a in process, we can call it a production center. So at one production center, one operations performed means it will be checked here now. It will not be checked at the finished product level, but it will be checked at the end of each process on each machine. Once it is guaranteed that it is 100% fit, then it will be passed to the next process. Again, there also, if it is 100% fit, then it will be passed to the next process. So in this particular fashion of manufacturing, naturally it will take time. That's what is called a lean manufacturing process, because here the quality is important. Okay, so maybe one production center has to be stopped till the component satisfies the 100% quality from the before production center. So as such, it is called as a lean manufacturing process. Okay, it is also called as integrated quality control principles are applied here, and here the employees themselves are inspectors. Not only the manufacturer of a component, they also have to take care of the inspection. They have to inspect it and certify it and pass it through the next center. So he is accountable now. In this type of manufacturing, the employee himself is the accountable element here. But otherwise, in normal industries, what happens? The component will be subjected to various processes. It will be assembled, and after finished product is completed, the quality assurance department has the headache. So they have to approve it. So if something goes wrong, again it has to be brought back to the production. So here the production people will not be accountable in normal production systems. But whereas in lean manufacturing systems, the production person himself is accountable. Okay, so here accurate components, expensive components are preferred for lean manufacturing process, like aircraft components, okay, or rocket components. The basic manufacturing processes. What are the basic manufacturing processes? So they include casting and foundry. This is a beginning of manufacturing process from base level, like raw material creation, etc. will be done in casting and foundry. Forming or metalworking, it is like giving a shape to a particular raw material. Then you have machining process where the shape is improvised by removal of material. Then you have joining and assembly. So once the components, 2 or 3 components are manufactured as per the design, they will be assembled together. Then you have rapid prototyping. So in rapid prototyping, what we do is we create prototypes of required design. Okay, so creation of prototype is very difficult actually. So nowadays it is the latest technology of rapid prototyping where we are using 3D plotters, 3D plotting machines, which will manufacture prototypes in the shortest possible time. That is, once a design is approved, accordingly you have to manufacture a sample component which will be matching with the design. So that sample component which is manufactured is called a prototype here now. Okay. So these are the different types of basic manufacturing processes. In prototyping is also called as a basic manufacturing process. That is rapid prototyping and others. Other small like welding, etc. all will be covered in this basic manufacturing processes. Now coming to casting and foundry processes. So here basically the raw materials are nothing but metals. So metals are used. They will be created here. Raw materials created here. Okay. In one step, raw materials are transformed into a desired shape here now. The parts require finishing process and excess material is recyclable here. So in casting, what it is done, if you are aware of it, casting or foundry, so like steel is there in raw form, it will be subjected to melting, it will be brought to a molten condition, a liquid condition, then it will be melted by heating it to say 2000 degrees or 3000 degrees, and at that molten flowable condition, it will be poured into a desired mold which will have a desired shape. So once it is poured into that particular mold, it will be allowed to cool down in controlled manufacturing processes, cooling processes. So once it is cooled, the mold is destroyed, and whatever you get will be a finished product, which will be having the desired shape here. Now that shaped component, the shape is given to the molten steel here now. The steel is converted into a particular shape, but the finishing may not be of the desired quality. So it may be, or it has to be subjected to further finishing processes or say material removal processes. And now here any wastage material is there, again it can be reused here now. So whatever the excess material or excess protrusions are there on the component, they can be broken and they can be separated, they can be again molten, they can be melted, and they can be reused here now. So any overflow of this particular material taking place which is spilled over, again that can be collected and again brought back to molten condition and can be reused here. That is the advantage of this casting or foundry process. Okay. In the basic casting process, a mold is created. Like I said, so a mold is like a temporary enclosure because it has to be dismantled or destroyed. Okay. It will be covering the actual product, giving a shape to the actual product. So you cannot remove the product from the mold without damaging the mold here now. So a mold is created, a cavity that holds the molten material in a desired shape until it is solidified. So a mold consists of a cavity which consists of the desired shape, and it holds this molten steel till it cools down. So the mold should be very strong and should be temperature resistant or heat resistant and should be highly refractory in nature. So you have like multiple use molds and single use molds. So mostly single use molds are destroyed after one use. And when multiple use molds is you can reuse them sometimes, which are made up of say wooden patterns. Okay. Single use molds are basically maybe manufactured out of sand or sand casting, which may have to be dismantled. And it is of only one time use. So material is heated to a specified temperature. Molten material is poured into a mold cavity. A molten material solidifies in the shape of the cavity. Casting or mold is removed after it has solidified. Casting is cleaned, finished, and inspected now. So these are the different processes involved in a basic casting process, where a basic shape is given. So once the basic shape is given, it has to be subjected to some kind of manufacturing processes to give it a finished look or bring it back to the actual desired dimensions. So remember in casting they are oversized. Components are oversized so that you can remove material for the purpose of machining. Okay, they'll be oversized compared to the design requirement, model dimensions. Okay, so forming and metal working processes. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry for the pause as I was moving from one room to the other room. Okay. Like I said, in the casting, what we do is we oversize the component or we oversize the model. We produce it with extra dimensions so that we can remove some of the material for finishing the particular component. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So the next slide here is forming and metalworking processes. So basically forming or metalworking processes are done on sheet metals, thin sheet metals, to convert them into required shapes like tubes or pipes, cavities, etc. So forming and metalworking processes utilizes material that has been cast, modify the shape, size, and physical properties of the material, hot and cold forming. So forming means nothing but forming a shape on this basic product which is manufactured in the casting process. So a basic pipe is created in casting process which is to be subjected to finishing to modify its appearance as well as its properties. So the metallurgical properties can be modified by processes called as hot or cold forming processes. Okay. So the pipes what you see here are finished products, but before forming and metal for working processes, they don't appear like this. They look very ugly. The surface finish is not very good in casting. So they have to be subjected to various processes and improvise the final finishing here. So there will be a separate layout here like this what you see in the this right side picture. The forming and metalworking processes here in rolling and forging are two processes which are shown here. So in rolling, as the name itself suggests, a material passes through a series of rollers, reducing its thickness with each pass. Suppose a sheet metal is manufactured. Okay, a sheet metal is manufactured by casting process. Thickness of that particular sheet metal is say 15 mm. Now I don't want 15 mm. I want a 10 mm sheet metal for purpose of manufacturing a pipe, say pipe. So what I can do, I have to reduce the thickness of that particular 15 mm sheet metal. By what process? By a process of mechanical deformation. By applying force and pressure, I have to reduce the size, the thickness of that particular sheet metal, which is possible only by passing it through a set of rollers, which will be exerting force or pressure, which is more than the plastical deformation force of that particular material. Okay. So here what is done is in rollers material passes through a series of, so in single rolling it may not be possible to deform a metal, so it may be subjected to multiple series of rollers, that is step by step the diameter, the thickness is reduced. So suddenly from 15 to 10 I cannot reduce the size of a sheet metal like mild steel. So first what I will do is from 15 to 13 mm I will reduce its size in first pass of rolls, and in the next pass of rolls I will reduce by another 2 mm. Say from 13 to 12 I will reduce its size. From the last set of rollers I will reduce it from 13 to 10 mm. So a set or a series of rollers are used for reducing the thickness of that particular sheet metal. The forging operation. So forging is nothing but heating operation. Heating and beating you can say. It will be heated and mechanically deformed. So material is shaped by controlled application of force. blacksmithy. It is a blacksmithy trade what we'll be doing in our college. So in forging, what we'll do is we'll heat a particular component here to red hot condition so that I can deform it mechanically easily by hammering process. So if you take a normal mild steel piece and beat it with a hammer under room temperature conditions, it will not deform. But the same mild steel piece, if I heat it to red hot condition and heat it with the hammer, then it will undergo deformation. So this process is called as forging process. Forging process, heating and beating, forging process. So some of the components may require forging operation. Some components may require rolling operation. Okay. Now another process of forming and metal forging process is extrusion. So you'll find a lot of videos available in YouTube. That videos I will be showing you in the coming classes which are downloaded. So in the extrusion process, we extrude a particular product or a component here now, which has a constant cross-sectional area, like a square rod or a round rod. Okay. So material is compressed and forced through a die to produce a uniform cross-section piece. Now here only those components which have uniform cross-section like rods and bars are manufactured here. Like your railway track, it has a fixed cross-section. It will not be reducing or increasing. So that type of shape is given by compressing and forcing a raw material and passing it through a die which will have the pattern or shape of that particular cross-section. So I will heat a particular rod, a big rod made up of casting. What I will do is I will heat it to red hot condition. Then I force it to pass through a die which will have a particular shape of cross-section. So because mechanical deformation is easier at red hot condition, I'll go for this extrusion process. And mind you, extrusion process is preferable only for those products or components which will have uniform cross-sectional area, whether square cross-section or round cross-section or an I section or a J section or H section, etc. Like your railway track will be having a particular type of section, like I section. Okay. Now, wire also can be manufactured, the copper wire or the aluminum wire or a particular thin rod or even a tube can also be manufactured by extrusion process. So, wire, rod and tube drawing are the examples. So, material is pulled through a die to produce a uniform cross-sectional area. Okay, a wire or a rod or even a tube can be drawn by this process of extrusion. Then you have cold forming and forging. Slugs of material are squeezed into dies. So in cold forming, what we do is this material, some materials, what they will be subjected to squeezing in dies, so that finished shape or final shape is to be given to that particular component. So you can see here in the picture also there is a cylindrical component which is being squeezed and passed through dies here to give it a finished shape here. So that is the idea of cold forming and forging process. Forging means nothing but beating or hammering or squeezing, you can say. Machining process. So controlled removal of material from a part to give a specific shape or surface finish is called as machining process. So in machining, what we do is we purposely remove the superficial material from a particular component to give it a very smooth finish or surface finish here. As such, the component is oversized. Like I've said earlier, components from castings will be oversized so that you can allow it for machining process or surface finishing process. Okay. Cutting element is also used here now for removal of superficial material, and movement must exist between the part and the cutting element here now. Either the part should be in motion and the cutting element will be at rest, or the cutting element will be in motion, the part will be at rest here now. You can see some of the videos of casting, sorry, not after casting, you can see the videos of machining like lathe machine operations, shaper operations, threading machine operations, etc. So in any machining process, either the workpiece will be stationary and the what called cutting element or the cutting blade or the cutting component or cutting tool will be moving, or the cutting tool will be stationary and the workpiece will be in motion. So there will be a relative motion during the contact, and this will result in the removal of the material from the raw material. Now the thing is here, the tool material should be stronger, harder than the raw material of the product. Okay, otherwise machining will not happen. The tool itself get eroded. The idea here is to erode or remove the material of the product or the component here. So another example of machining process is turning process. So turning process is done for manufacture of circular or cylindrical components or cylindrical parts. Somebody else is joined. I think people are joining lately. Okay. So in turning operation, as the name itself indicates, turning operation will be done. Component will be turned and machined while turning. So basically, turning means you can manufacture only cylindrical or circular components, like what you see here in the picture, right side. The only circular components can be manufactured by the turning process. The turning process is done in a machine called as lathe machine, where all the cylindrical components will be rotated at high velocity, and what you call a tool will be passed, a sharp tool will be passed with respect to the rotating product or rotating body or rotating element. So this sharpness of that particular tool or the tool bit will come into contact with this rotating element, and because of this frictional resistance offered and the high hardness of the tool piece, what happens, the material of that particular component will get eroded or will get removed here in this rotating process. So like that you can reduce the diameter of a cylindrical component gradually by applying pressure by this tool bit against this rotating element here. Okay. So like turning and removal of material is done in the machining process, this type of machining process. So this you will do at the college. If everything gets done and you come to college, then physically you can do the turning operation of the lathe machine. It's a very enjoyable lab. Let me tell you, you will not get a chance to come across a lab like this one. Okay, and you can score a lot also. So again, the turning process is basically done on lathes and turning centers. Okay, there are lathes and turning centers on which you can do the turning process. So turning process is a material removal process by way of rotating the component and subjecting or contacting it with a stationary tool bit. So the process includes straight, taper, contour, turning, facing, forming, necking, parting, boring, threading, and knurling. So these words you will not understand, but while you seeing the videos, you will understand what straight metal removal is, what taper removal is, what contour formation is, and what facing is, and what forming is, necking, etc. So as per the requirement of the shape of a particular cylindrical component, sometimes the cylindrical components would have a curvy shape. Okay, it may not always have a uniform circular shape, it may have a curvy shape. Sometimes it may have steps of different diameters on a cylindrical component. Sometimes a grip has to be created, roughness has to be created. Sometimes threading has to be created. Sometimes a hole is to be drilled on the cylindrical components. So all these things come under this straight taper comp. Sometimes what you call a inclination is to be maintained. The diameter gradually increases. Okay, so inclination is to be maintained on the component. So every time the cylindrical component may not be a straight component, it will be a tapered component, or it could be contoured or curvy surface shaped type of a component. So straight, taper or contour turning is done, facing is done at the bottom or top to remove the material, forming is done, making at some part the diameter is to be reduced to a very smaller value, called as a neck has to be created. Parting means sometimes you have to cut off some part of that component. Then boring is nothing but performed to create a cylindrical hole of varying diameters or stepped diameters. Then thread has to be created or formed on that particular cylindrical component. And knurling is for the purpose of grip here now. Surface roughness, diamond shaped indentations are created at one end of a particular component for the purpose of gripping. It is called as knurling operation. So all these operations you can see physically because that you can do see a lot of videos are also available in YouTube. It can be shown to you in the coming classes. Then you have a milling process. Again, the machining process, you have milling process where straight components are subjected to machine. So always components are not cylindrical. So there will be straight and flat surface components. So in this kind of components, you cannot rotate the component, but the drill bit may has to be rotated here now with respect to the stationary component or stationary part or product. So operations that create flat or curved surfaces by progressively removing material come under the milling process. Cutting tools rotate as the workpiece is secured and fed into the tool gear now. So this is called as a milling process. So you can see here this is a milling machine So this what call this head this movable lever consists of the rotating tool bit, and the component will be placed on this particular table and it will be fixed, but this tool bit will be rotating. So tool bit facing, shaping, forming, slotting, creation of slots, T slots, angles, handle, dovetail, slab milling. Of operations they are very easy to understand. You can just see some milling process in any YouTube video, you'll understand. Then you have drilling process. I think all of you are aware of the drilling. To create a hole on a component, you will subject it to drilling process, where the drill bit will be rotating with respect to the workpiece. Okay, so that you can create a hole here. Drilling and boring processes, which are similar almost here. So normally in drilling, a cylindrical hole will be drilled. So when you want a variable diameter stepped hole, okay, then you have to go for a boring process, more advanced type of a process. So processes include drilling, counter drilling, step drilling, boring, counter boring, counter sinking, rearming, spot facing, and tapping. So are more or less similar operations, but as per the requirement of a hole, type of a hole, you have to select the appropriate type of a drilling process or boring process here. Then you have shearing process. So operations that break unwanted material away from a particular part. So sometimes some parts will have some unwanted materials which are created during the casting for the purpose of holding those components. You may have to hold that particular component. So maybe a handle type of a thing is created which has to be removed afterwards. Otherwise, it is difficult to handle that particular component. Okay. So a material is placed between a stationary and a movable surface. The movable surface, that is blade or die or punch, applies a force to the part that shears away the unwanted material. So it is like beaded, subject to some kind of a force or impact, and that unwanted component or extension is removed from that particular surface by applying a force which is more than the shear force of that particular material. As such, it is called as a shearing process. So automated hole punch, the example of shearing is creating holes by punching process. Square holes, sometimes we have cylindrical holes, sometimes we have square holes, etc. Sometimes we have hectagonal holes, etc. So here a rotating cutter may be used, simple punch may be used here now. So the various processes in shearing include shearing, blanking, cutoff, parting, punching, perforating, slotting, notching process, lacing, and trimming process. So in all these processes, the material is subjected or the workpiece is subjected to shear force for the purpose of removal of unwanted material to give it a particular shape. Suppose I want to create a hole in a metallic billet of thickness 10 mm, so then I have to subject it to say punching process. So I have to punch and remove the cylindrical material, so that I can create a hole on that particular metallic billet here. Then abrasive machining is there where abrasives are used. So operations in which small particles of materials or abrasives remove the small chips of the material upon contact. So this is a different type of manufacturing process. It comes under the non-conventional process of machining, where you may have to remove only some little material over the surface of a particular component. Instead of subjecting it to the processes like milling or turning or shaping, you can subject it to abrasive machining, where abrasive materials or particles are forcefully hit against that particular surface, carrying away that metallic surface by a process of erosion here. The drum disc, belt sanders, surface, vertical and horizontal spindle, disc grinders, media blaster, tumblers, etc. Come under this particular category. Abrasive machining. operations that cut and shape materials through chemical means, where we go for application of chemical processes. No mechanical forces required sometimes. Okay. Electrical discharge, electrochemical, laser, electron beam, flame cutting, and plasma arc cutting are the different examples which come under the thermal processes. Chemical processes, by the way of reaction, you can cut a particular component or a particular workpiece by using some kind of chemical means, or you can cut it by using high temperature processes like electrical discharge or electrochemical process, or even laser beam, which create a high temperature of a particular surface and they can cut also. Okay. So even electron beam or flame cutting also can be, that is a jet of fire can be used for cutting. In plasma arc can be used for cutting process. The processes include grinding, sawing, cutting, machining, milling, blanking, and etching. Mind you, these are all various types of manufacturing processes. You need not remember all of them for the purpose of exam. This is for your understanding. May be useful for your viva in your final exam. So not that you will do all these operations in the workshop. In the workshop, you will only do seven trades, seven basic trades where you will be using handheld equipment or handheld tools. Okay, and the seven trades will have three set of experiments each. Like you will do welding, you will do plumbing, you will do carpentry, you will do house wiring. Okay, so like that, and you will do smithy. Like that, you have total seven trades. You do sheet metal work, etc. Okay. Heat treating process. So controlled heating and cooling of a material to alter its properties while maintaining its shape. Now there are certain processes which will induce some properties in components. Some properties like hardness or toughness or ductility are required by some components, and they can be induced or introduced by process of heating and cooling. Controlled heating and cooling processes called as metallurgical processes to induce properties, the mechanical properties like strength, toughness, machinability, wear resistance, and corrosion resistance. You might have studied about mechanical properties in your intermediate also. Mechanical properties are physical properties of materials. So sometimes they are not present inherently, they may have to be introduced in the components. Okay, they can be done by heat treatment process. So 90% of heat treatment treating is performed on steel and other ferrous metals only. So these properties are basically required by ferrous and steel materials. The heat treating process. Again, the next part is to aid in the manufacturing process. Materials can be treated to be weak and ductile, and then can be retreated to provide high strength. Sometimes to simplify the manufacturing process, the materials are modified to become weak here now by some metallurgical process, so that you can easily machine them or shape them. And after the shaping and machining is done, for required shape is done, again they can be retreated to bring back to the high strength condition. So can also occur incidentally during the manufacturing process. Unknowingly also this may happen to a particular workpiece here. Then you have joining and assembly processes. Can think of a product with only one part. Can you think of a product with only one part? Is it possible to have a product with only one part? No, it is not possible. And if you take a hammer, the hammer will consist of a handle, then that metallic part. So you have to assemble both of them together, then you can have a total hammer. Okay, so that's the meaning of this particular line here. So you may have to manufacture different components and fit them together or assemble them together. So most products consist of multiple parts that are assembled to form a finished product. Okay, the typical assembly processes include mechanical fastening, soldering, brazing process, welding process, adhesive body, that is joining processes or fastening processes. So sometimes components have to be subjected to welding, maybe two components have to be soldered and welded together or brazed together, or sometimes adhesive may be applied between those two components for the purpose of assembly. So say assembly is the last part of the components to be brought together. So you can see the examples here. Nut and bolt is an assembly here now. So you can find rivets, screws, bolts, nails, cotter pins, retaining clips, edge design, etc. So without a nut, bolt is useless, and without a bolt, nut is useless. When both of them are brought together and assembled, then only it will be useful to you for joining any two components. That is the idea here. Mechanical fastening. Temporary fastening will be there, permanent fastening also will be there. Like by welding, you can get a permanent joint. By using nut and bolt, you will get a temporary joint. Joining and assembly processes. So welding is one of the joining process. It is like a permanent joining process. So once welded means you cannot break the two components again. You have to dismantle, you have to break it forcefully and separate the two components. It's not like removing nut and bolt and disassembling two assembled components. So it is a permanent joining process. Welding is a permanent joining process, where if you want to separate the two components which are welded, you may have to mechanically damage them, physically break them. So operations that use heat, pressure, or both to permanently join parts is welding. So you might have seen basic welding operations done in small workshops by the side of roads, where welding is done to join to create a gate, to manufacture a gate, a door, a metallic gate, a grilled door at your home, etc. Okay, so gas welding, arc welding, stud welding, spot welding, forge welding, roll laminating resistance, and induction welding are the different type of welding processes. Okay, so I think we are running out of time. With this note, I will stop it here, and I request all of you to just type in your roll numbers in the chat box. If you are not typing your roll numbers, you will not be considered to be present. Okay, so within 1 minute or 2 minutes, I request all of you to type in your roll numbers in the chat box.